Hello and welcome to episode 18 of the Slow Crafting Podcast. My name's Nadine and I'm coming to you today from the northwest of England near Manchester. This is a bi-weekly podcast that talks about trying to incorporate a slow living or slow fashion agenda into my crafting endeavours. So knitting, spinning, crochet, sewing, a whole host of things to try and increase my handmade wardrobe. You can hear noise in the background. I have my 3-year-old with me today. I don't normally record with anybody else in the house, but today was the only time I could find to do it. So my apologies if she suddenly makes a cameo appearance and starts gurning at you all. Right, I've tried to bribe her with some Play-Doh, so she might stay and play with that. Just had a sudden panic that my half would come down as well and be going, "What are you doing?" Suddenly appear in his pants in the corner. He sleeps during the day because he works nights. Doesn't just wander around in his pants all the time. Welcome to the podcast. Right, I've got quite a bit to show you today. Seems to be a bit scatty on the projects front, and I've worked on lots of different bits and bobs rather than on any one project solidly. But let's just crack on with it. I know I said in the last episode that I recorded that I was going to do the magazine review for the Plants and Magic magazines today, but with having a small child running around, I don't think it's going to be conducive to being able to cover them in depth or in any detail, although the lighting and video quality is slightly better today because I'm recording during the day, so it's a shame. But I think I will actually write up the review and put it on the blog, and I'll put a link to that once it's completed. Right, finished object. Oh, before I get to finished objects, in terms of slow fashion things, this cardigan that I'm wearing today, whilst not in the least bit flattering, is something that I've had in my wardrobe for, I'm 38, possibly 24, maybe 25 years, because it used to be my school cardigan. It's not, I mean, it's acrylic and it's mass produced, but so it's not particularly sustainable or environmentally friendly, but in some respects it is, because it has been in my wardrobe and in regular use for that long. Erica, can you just stop singing please? It's beautiful but it's very loud. Yes, so it's my go-to cardigan for if I'm feeling particularly mopey or hormonal or cold and need something big that I can just chuck on and then chuck off later on. Obviously if I want real warmth I'd put one of my proper 100% wool jumpers on, but no, as I'm having to record in the conservatory today and there's no heating in here, so it's currently 12 degrees. I've got just this slung on over the top of the rest of my outfit. But yes, 24 years in my wardrobe. It's starting to go fray a bit around the cuffs, so it will need repairing at some point soon. But yeah, it's still holding up really well, and like I say, it's not flattering, but it's comfy. I do plan on one day making a similar style of cardigan out of real wool, because I've even got the wool in stock in my stash, but I just keep looking at it and thinking 1x1 rib for a cardigan, an oversized cardigan that comes down past my bottom is a little bit daunting. I might just decide to work it in stockinette instead. I might go a bit quicker still if I did it in the round and then steeped it, but that's getting a bit ahead of myself. Yeah, in terms of what else I'm wearing in that as part of my handmade wardrobe, I've got the Saddleworth cowl on, which is textured cowl that I designed. It's on Ravelry for free. I'll put the link in the notes down below. It's yeah, textured cowl, and it's nice and warm, which, like I say, in this cold conservatory is needed. And then the other thing that I've got on, I made this over the summer. It's one of the Dottie Angel patterns. For a top, it comes down to my hip levels. I would stand up and show you it properly, but I have lots of things on my knees. So the fabric is this sort of matryoshka print. It's a Robert Kaufman fabric called Guchka. Sorry about that, doorbell went. It's getting to that time of year where parcels keep getting delivered. Right, okay, where was I? Yes, the Robert Kaufman fabric for the rest of the top. I think it's the Dottie Angel pattern is Simplicity one. I want to say it's 8153, but I'll double check it and put it in the show notes below. So yes, and then it's got, you can't really see, I don't know how well you can. I can't even see that. It's a good job I've got my cowl on, otherwise you might see more than you wanted. Yeah, it's hand embroidered over the flappy bit on the front of it. The bib, there we go, and it was of some naturally dyed fabric, but I think the background dye stayed, but then some of the eco printing on tops faded, so the dyes weren't fixed very well, or the plants that I used were fugitive dyes. I wouldn't know because I don't know. I didn't keep a record of what I used. I just chucked it on and hope for the best. As you've seen, is my normal approach to natural dyeing. Right, on with the projects. Okay, finished objects. I only have one, and that's a pair of socks using the Noro sock yarn, Noro crayon, I think it might be. It's one that's 70% wool, 30% nylon, I think. It's a single spun, but it seems quite robust and sturdy. They feel quite hardy. Sorry, can you, Erica? Shh, don't bang, please. Right, so they're just plain stockinette socks with quite a short cuff and a fish lips kiss heel. Although, despite measuring them quite obsessively, one of them is slightly longer than the other. Don't quite know how I managed that. I must have stretched it when I was measuring it in a desperate, please let me be finished with these socks. But I've tried them on, and they do both fit nicely, so it doesn't feel like one of them's a bit snug. So hopefully, because these are going to be a gift for my mum for Christmas, hopefully she'll think the same about those. She's got the same size feet as me, so they should be alright with her. That's how I know I can try them on and they'll be alright. That's the only finished object I've got this week. Oh, I'm hoping that rain's not going to be too loud or last too long. I was trying to record in between rain showers this morning as well. I've got a half finished object, and that's these, another pair of socks. These are the Hermione's Everyday socks. So it's I think it's a free pattern. I've had it in my library that long that I don't really know, I can't remember anymore. And that's using some Drops Fable yarn that I've had in stash forever. I think it was a gift from my brother one Christmas. So he believes I'm going to be giving somebody else for Christmas, or my niece. Although I'm not having much luck with socks this week because I did it and then I measured it. I think it's a centimetre too short. Now it's because when I worked the toe, I just stopped paying attention to the pattern and worked my normal toe deep creases, forgetting that I was using a different size needle, because on socks I normally work with a 2.5mm needle, and these are worked with a 2.25, So it shouldn't have made a centimetre's worth of difference, but I think with different needle size and then possibly stretching in desperation finishing them, it probably accounted for why these are a little bit short. So unfortunately I think I am going to have to rip back the toe and work it a bit longer and then redo the toe decreases, which is rather annoying, but I've only got one of those finished. The other sock that I've been working on, the Cafe Macchiato sock, I haven't really made any progress on that at all because I've been obsessed by other things, as you will see. In terms of things that I'm working on that I mentioned in the last episode, I know I mentioned the vintage knitting kit that I had from one of the ladies that passed away at the knitting group that I used to go to, and I'd shown you some, it was a pattern for a cardigan or a jumper, and it came with the yoke, or cool work yoke, already made, and then enough yarn to knit the rest of the sweater. So I've swatched for the pattern because I didn't want to make it the same as the original pattern. I wanted to keep the yoke but then work a sort of lace stitch on the body, and I've gone for, I said feather and fan, but I think because it's worked over 18 stitches I think it's actually old shale, and I think I included a picture of that in the last podcast, but even though I haven't done it till after I recorded it. I know. So it might not have made sense last week, it would have made more sense to save it till this time, but never mind. But yes, anyway, so the only progress I've made on that, other than knitting the sample, the gauge tension swatch, is picking up the live stitches and knitting the ribbon round what will be the top of the cardigan. I've still got to work out the maths for how many I need to pick up to knit the rest of the body. I think the original pattern had you knit from the bottom up in pieces and then join, do a, I don't know if it was a 3 needle bind off or grafting all the way around the top, but I'm tempted to work my old shale pattern upside down. I don't know how that's going to look, and just pick up stitches from around here where the waist yarn is and work downwards, just so then I have less seaming to do and then I can crack on with it and make a good go at it. But with however, I know I said I wanted this done by Christmas. I have a horrible feeling it's not going to be because of everything else I've suddenly decided to knit. But it will be done at some point, even if I'm working on it over Christmas. So yeah, here's the pattern on the yoke. It's quite nice, quite subtle. So that's that. Right, new projects that you haven't seen anything about that I have on the go. One of the Christmas, it wasn't a Christmas present actually, my sister-in-law, her birthday is at the end of this month, and I wanted to knit her some of the Arnie and Carlos felted socks as a birthday present, because they live up in Orkney now and it's cold, and I wanted her to have some nice warm woolly goodness, dropping the balls on the floor to keep her warm, and I've got enough socks on the go. I know she loves the hand knit socks, but I really couldn't bring myself to knit another pair at the moment, so I decided I was going to do some of the felted socks. Now, try again. Sorry, I didn't think you'd want one of the noisy toys deafening you. You could have sung along and done the ABC and joined in, but no. We've had words, and we'll see if she's quieter now. So I should go back to recording on a Monday morning when she's out. And moving on, Annie and Carlos, felted slippers. So they have the pattern in their book on felted slippers. They have 3 different styles, and I was just doing the basic one with a sort of short cuff, and then working the heel and the rest of the foot. And I was just doing the 2 colour one, which is a sort of basic one. But they also have the individual pattern for this basic one available on their website, which I'll put a link to down below. But they worked theirs, the yarn that they used for theirs was an Aran weight, which I think they worked on slightly bigger needles as well. I think they maybe worked them on a 6mm. But I didn't have any Aran weights, natural, 100% wool, non-superwash that would felt. I only had DK. The wool that I've tried using is from my local yarn shop. It's Wool in It. It's their Countryside Tweed, which is a mild DK in the grey and blue. I'm trying to think. They don't have. Oh, this one does have a shade name, Indigo. This one does not. I think it's just a natural grey, one of the pale grey. There we go. So I did a tension swatch and worked out what my gauge would be, and then tried to do the maths to scale it to the yarn that I had available. I don't think that my maths is right by any stretch of the imagination, and quite frankly this took forever. So I've got the cuff because I wanted a fold down cuff as well at the top, so I'll sit like that. It's got a slit at the front, so like little elf boots really, and then it had a striped heel, and then just the checkerboard pattern on the rest of the foot. I don't think it's right. It's I know they'd be huge for felting, but I think I'll be more confident, or happier at any rate, using the right wool and the right measurements and stitch count if I was then going to felt it, because I don't want to spend all the time knitting this slipper, because this took, like I say, forever, and then felting it and it not being right and having ruined some lovely wool that I could have used on something else. So I am going to rip this all out and repurpose the wool, put it back into stash and use it for something else. Oh, my stitch markers that I've got on here were from my friend a few years ago, I think, when my little girl was born. So there's, I don't know if a teacup, and I don't know, I can't see. It's a crumpet with some butter on. There we go. Tea and crumpets on my slippers that get enfrogged. So it's not wasted knitting time because it was relaxing and everything else. It was just very frustrating that it didn't work. So anyway, because I still wanted to make her some felted slippers, I ended up ordering new yarn, which I'm trying not to do this year. I was trying to work with what I had in stash, and I ordered some Shackenmeyer Wash and Filz wool. Now the wool that I actually found, I think is actually a discontinued yarn, because it's the Wash and Filz big colour. They do, Shackenmeyer still do produce Wash and Filz, but not, I don't think it's in the same weight. I think it's in a different weight. I think they have 2 different types, but neither of them are the big colour. So I found this on, it's in the sale section actually, on a website called Purple Linda Crafts. I think I might have to check that. So it was cheap, and I knew that one ball would be enough to make one pair of slippers, and that the pattern would be included on the inside of a ball band. Pattern is included on the inside of the ball band in 3 or 4 different languages, but not English. If you want the English translation, it directs you to their to the Shackamai website, which I duly went to. And then, because this is a discontinued yarn, the pattern's no longer available on the website. They do have a felted slipper pattern, but it's for one of their newer Wash and Filz yarns. So by this point, I was thinking, oh, I'm going to have to translate it from German or one of the other languages it's in. And yeah, having not done German or French since I was at school, that might have been an interesting challenge. So yes, I did a lot of searching on Ravelry, thinking, oh, it might be on there, and it is, but it was hard to find because they hadn't used this image as the cover image for the pattern. It was under another image, but I'll put the link in the show notes below so that if you have some of this in stash, you can find it, because it wasn't easy to find. And I have to say that the instructions are sparse, to say the least. Obviously, it was originally written so that you could have it in 3 or 4 different languages on the inside of a ball band, so it was always going to be a very brief instruction. But there was a fair bit of I'm assuming it means that I'll just do this and hope for the best. You might be wondering why I'm talking about it when I've still got a full ball of wool here. That's because I've got 2 balls of wool. So I have one finished pair, well, not finished, one knitted pair. So they've got a garter stitch sole, so hopefully they won't be slippy, because she's very accident prone and I don't want her falling over. And then stockinette on the top. So look, they're massive. These haven't been felted yet, but bless you, I've got two knitted slippers, and I'm hoping to get those felted at some point over the weekend. We'll see how it goes. I'm a bit nervous, and I'm hoping they turn out all right. They were easy to do, but they worked on 10mm needles, and my word, that is well out of my comfort zone. I haven't worked on needles that fat for a long time. It's you know, most of my projects are worked on 4mm needles at the biggest, but more often than not 2.5mm needles. So going to a 10mm, well, so I've got my nails painted today, because after I'd done these yesterday, because I knitted them both up yesterday afternoon after the wool had arrived, my wrists were aching. I thought the only way that I'm going to stop myself from trying to knit is if I've painted my nails and I'm waiting for them to dry, because I can't knit and have wet nails, because I'll get nail varnish over everything. So yeah, I'm looking quite fancy today, because I was stopping myself from knitting. But yes, so we'll see how those turn out. I haven't, ooh, a bit of thread there. You probably won't get to see these in real life or with me holding them once they're felted, because like I say, her birthday's at the end of this month, so if I want them to get to her in time, once I've felted them, I'm going to have to post them up there, because it does take a while to get there, and if they go wrong, I don't quite know what I'm going to do, but we shall see. I might put a button just there once they're felted, just to make them look a bit fancier. I don't know how comfortable they'll be or what they turn out like, but we'll see. It's a knitting experiment. But yes, I have got another ball of wool because it just seemed to make sense to buy 2 if I was paying for postage, because otherwise my postage would have been more than the wool was. Only a knitter with a desperate desire to increase her stash. Use that excuse. I can't possibly. I'm have to order another one. So yeah, so this one's browns with flecks of blue, sort of a sky blue and a almost a turquoisey blue in it. Now I can't decide whether I want to knit these for myself or knit them for my mother for Christmas. I'll see what the pair for my sister-in-law turn out like. Quite a nice chin rest. Does smell a bit vinegary. Yeah, I'll see what the first pair turn out like, and if they're lovely I might knit this into a pair for my mum, but if they're just a bit so I'll knit it into a pair for me, because always a fan of extra things to keep me warm, and I do love slippers. Right, so that's those. Right, still not finished. I'm saving my favourite thing till last actually, even though I'm now moving on to spinning, but the last thing's knitting. Spinning. This is the Shetland fibre from Hawkshaw Sheep that I mentioned a couple of episodes ago. I finally got it on my wheel. You can see this is all I've spun up so far. I'm still working on the first 50 grams. You can see it is quite a neppy yarn. Now some of you wouldn't like that. It's just a processing thing, because it's such Shetland's a short fibre. You can end up, depending on how you process it, with a very neppy yarn as a result, or a very neppy fibre I should say, before it turned into yarn. And I don't mind that, because I would rather have farm sourced fibre that's a bit neppy than absolutely pristine and perfect untraceable fibre. So yes, it'll just make a tweedy, slightly more textured yarn, which will be interesting in itself. So yes, I think it's going to end up probably coming out at about a fingering weight, maybe a sport weight because of the neps. But yeah, it's really enjoyable to spin. I just haven't had much time to spin it, which is why I'm still on the first 50 grams. I don't know if you can get a better. There we go. Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see what it does look like once it's plied, because I'll just do it as a 2-ply and see what it turns out like. I'm looking forward to it. So I've got another 100 grams of that to spin, plus the rest of the 50 that makes all this. Now, my favourite project at the moment. After I watched the one of the more recent Kammebornia episodes, Pia was knitting on some Mamelukas by Maya Carlson, which are essentially big woolly knickers. And I thought they would be very useful. So I didn't jump on the bandwagon, because I mean, there are a few people knitting them at the moment, because there's some issues around one of the larger yarn companies releasing an almost identical pattern as their own, and there's some copyright issues that people are up in arms about at the moment, understandably. But I did look at what Pia was knitting, and then went and looked at the pattern and thought, one of my issues with winter is always having a cold bum. This was reinforced on bonfire night here in the UK. Well, actually the night before bonfire night, 'cause we had the bonfire on the Saturday, when I was up at our local allotment and we were sat around. We had a bonfire there, and in the freezing cold on a cold bench, and I thought, yes, cold bottom. Now, big knickers and long tunics and long cardigans can go some way to helping keep my bottom on, but woolly over knickers, especially if for some reason I'm wearing a dress, which doesn't happen all the time, but probably because they're cold in winter, even with tights. I thought some woolly knickers would be good. I know it just sounds so wrong. They're more like shorts style knickers, not just little skimpy knitted thong or something. Now, they're not skimpy by any stretch of the imagination, because at the top of them, also to keep your tummy warm. Now, I'm just reminded of when I had my first child. I was pregnant with her over the winter, so I was like massively fat, and I think it was the coldest winter we'd had here in like recent years, and my tummy was always cold. So under all my maternity clothes, I had these big pashminas wrapped around my tummy to keep it warm. But I won't need things like that now, because I've got this big bit of ribbon to pull up to my bosom. They are true granny knickers. So yes, this ribbon, which currently stands at about 6 inches, needs another 2 inches knitting on it, and it hasn't been that bad actually, because normally ribbon is next to moss stitch on my knitting nemesis list, but I've actually enjoyed this. I have just been able to just zone out and go round and round and round and round and round. Once I've done that, the rest of the knickers, the main body, the bit over your bum, is worked in stockinette with just some ribbed panels down the sides, and then it's ribbed again round your leg openings. But I will say it's worked in a fingering weight on 2.5mm needles. Yeah, I did say that right. It's going to be 8 inches of ribbon, 2.5mm needles. Okay. The original pattern is free. It's free and is available on the Yarbo website. I think in a few different languages, but it is available in English, and I'll put the link for that down below as well. I forgot what I was saying. Yeah, it's free, and so I'm not giving away anything too much. The original cast-on number is considerably smaller than I've cast on. Now, it is a one size pattern that she's done, but she's given you the instructions for how to go about scaling it up. I had to cast on an extra 80 stitches. Now, despite the cardigan, I am not particularly fat. I'm curvy, but I'm not fat. So if you are a larger lady, you might find this pattern very off-putting because of just the mental stumbling block of thinking, right, I need to cast on twice the number of stitches as the original pattern. That's not happening. I think I had to cast on, the original cast on was about 160 stitches, and like I say, I'm up to 240 because I thought I knitted a sockhead hat on 3mm needles that had 120. Oh, no, might even be more than that. It had almost as many stitches as these Mameluckers, and quite frankly my head is a lot smaller than my tummy, and my head's a 22.5 inch circumference. By no stretch of the imagination is my waist 22.5 inches. So I think the pattern was originally written for a waist size of 29 inches, and mine's a couple of inches bigger than that. But I think, yeah, I don't know how much negative ease it was meant to be written with, but I think these are going to be more comfortable. Yeah, that's a bit more stretch. And I mean, the hip measurement on the original pattern would have been fine for my hips, because I think that goes up to maybe a 41 inch hip it's meant to accommodate up to, so it would have been fine for me. But yes, we'll see how we get on with those. But I'm really looking forward to having these finished, and I just have to stop myself from working on these and nothing else. So yes, but the wool that I'm using is was in Stash, because I got this a few years ago, just from a local yarn shop in Scotland when I was up there. It's the Araucania Ranco colour PT1944. I don't really know what that relates to. So yeah, it's 75% wool, 25% polyamide. But yes, so this is it in the skein, and then this is it knitted up in the rib. It's going to look like I've got big tiger print woolly knickers. Thankfully, they will be worn under my clothes rather than for viewing for the general public. But yeah. I think part of me is quite amused by this, but part of me is like, oh, could you have knitted anything more niche? Tiger print woolly knickers. But yes, needless to say, when they are finished, I will not be modelling them for you. I will be just folding them up and showing you. So that's my final project that's on the go at the moment. Right. Oh, it started raining again, so I'll just quickly round everything up before I need to get off before it gets too loud again. As you can see, I've got a lot that's needing to be worked on at the moment, but I am hoping over the next couple of weeks to start on some of the sewing projects that I've got planned for Christmas as well. So okay, you play with the Play-Doh. You play with the Play-Doh. Oh, it's cold. Have you finished playing with it? Yeah. Okay, well I'll just put it over on the mat and I'll put it away in a minute. Okay. Yes, so a couple of sewing projects that I need to work on for the time at the end of December. That's very special. Not saying the C word because flappy ears. But yes, the sewing is for primarily for small people as well, so I'll tell you more about that next time, and I might even have started it hopefully. And I'm waiting on some more wool. Yeah, I ordered some more wool, not my I will shop from Stash, but this is for a present for my sister-in-law again, but this time for Christmas. It's a shawl, but I'll tell you more about that next time, so hopefully we'll manage to cast that on as well. Oh, such hard work being a 3-year-old. Big sigh there. Right, thank you very much for watching, and hopefully I'll see you again soon. Oh, and then just hello to all my new subscribers. You can find me on the internet. You can find me on Ravelry as Crafty Nadine, or you can find me through the blog, which is themanyKnitsofNadine.wordpress.com. Alright then, thank you for joining me, and hopefully I'll see you next time. Bye bye.